Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pacharine Nirvishesha Shunnavadi Vasatya Deshatarine Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Jaya Gaura Nitai Gaura Nitai Gaura Nitai Gaura Nitai Jaya Gaura Nitai Gaura Nitai Jaya Gaura Nitai Jaya Gaura Nitai Jaya Nitai Sachi Sundara Nitai Sachi Sundara Nitai Sachi Sundara Jaya Nitai Sachi Sundara Jaya Nitai Sachi Sundara Nitai Sachi Sundara Nitai Sachi Sundar Jaya Nitai Sachi Sundar Jaya Giri Govardhan Giri Govardhan Giri Govardhan Jaya 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 Giri Govardhan Prabhupada 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 Jaya Prabhupada Jai Jai Prabhupada 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 Jaya Prabhupada Jai Jaya Gurudev 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 Jai Jai Gurudev Jai Jaya Gurudev 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 Jai Gurudev Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna Prakash, welcome. We looking at a new chapter of Bhagavad Gita, the 7th chapter, but before we just want to read the translation of our previous verse to get the connection, although it's a completely different chapter. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. That's text 47 of the 6th chapter, last verse. 6th chapter is well known as the Yoga chapter. So this is the last verse of the Yoga chapter and is a conclusion of the Yoga chapter. The last part in any writing are always a highlight. Everything is building up to that point. So the Yoga chapter is building up to that point, the last verse, the last word of Lord Krishna regarding yoga. Translation. And of all yogis, the one with great faith who abides always in me, thinks of me within himself and renders transcendental loving service to me. He is the most intimately united with me in yoga and is the highest of all. That is my opinion. So this verse describes the Bhakti yogi, the one engaged in loving devotional service to Krishna. And Krishna says this is the highest of all yogis. So there should not be any doubt that the yogas are not on an equal level, but there is a yoga ladder of lower and higher, a hierarchy, with Bhakti yoga as the pinnacle of that hierarchy. So we're looking at the next chapter, knowledge of the Absolute. That's the 7th chapter. There's a little preamble. Lord Krishna is the supreme truth, the supreme cause and sustaining force of everything, both material and spiritual. Advanced souls surrender unto him in devotion, whereas foolish souls divert their minds to other objects of worship. Text 171. Shri Bhagavanu Vacha Maya Sakta Manaparta Yogam Yuncham Mad Ashraya Asamshayam Samagramam Yatha Kyashyasi Tachrinu. Translation. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, Now hear, O son of Pritha, how by practicing yoga in full consciousness of me, with the mind attached to me, you can know me in full, free from doubt. Purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. In this 7th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, the nature of Krishna consciousness is fully described. Krishna is full in all opulences, and how he manifests such opulences is described herein. Also 4 kinds of fortunate people who become attached to Krishna, and 4 kinds of unfortunate people who never take to Krishna are described in this chapter. In the first 6 chapters of Bhagavad Gita, the living entity has been described as non-material, spiritual soul, capable of elevating himself to self-realization by different types of yogas. At the end of the 6th chapter, it has been clearly stated that the steady concentration of the mind upon Krishna, or in other words, Krishna consciousness, is the highest form of all yoga. By concentrating one's mind upon Krishna, one is able to know the absolute truth completely, but not otherwise. Impersonal Brahma, Jyoti, or localized Paramatma realization is not perfect knowledge of the absolute truth, because it is partial. Full and scientific knowledge is Krishna, and everything is revealed to the person in Krishna consciousness. In complete Krishna consciousness, one knows that Krishna is ultimate knowledge beyond any doubt. Different types of yoga are only stepping stones on the path of Krishna consciousness. One who takes directly to Krishna consciousness automatically knows about Brahmachyuti and Paramatma in full. By practice of Krishna consciousness yoga, one can know everything in full, namely the absolute truth, the living entities, the material nature, and the manifestations with paraphernalia. One should therefore begin yoga practice as directed in the last verse of the 6th chapter. Concentrating of the mind upon Krishna, the Supreme, is made possible by prescribed devotional service in 9 different forms, of which Shravanam is the first and most important. The Lord therefore says to Arjuna, "Touch Trinu, or hear from me." No one can be a greater authority than Krishna, and therefore, by hearing from him, one receives the greatest opportunity to perfectly Krishna conscious person, to become a perfectly Krishna conscious person. One has therefore to learn from Krishna directly, or from a pure devotee of Krishna, and not from a non-devotee upstart, puffed up with academic education. In the Srimad Bhagavatam, this process of understanding Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the Absolute Truth, is described in the 2nd chapter of the 1st canto as follows. Shrinvatam Svakata Krishna Punya Shravana Kirtana Hritanandasta Yapatrani Vidhunoti Suritsatam Nashta Pravesha Patreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavaduttamam Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naistiki Tadara Jestamo Bhava Kama Lobhadayas Chaye Chita Edar Anavidham Stitam Sattvi Prasitati Evam Prasanna Manaso Bhagavad Bhakti Yogata Bhagavad Tattva Vijnanam Mukta Sangasya Chayate Vidyate Hridaya Krantish Chityante Sarva Samshaya Kshyante Kasya Karmani trita evat manishvare. To hear about Krishna from Vedic literatures, or to hear from him directly through the Bhagavad Gita, is itself righteous activity. And for one who hears about Krishna, Lord Krishna, who is dwelling in everyone's heart, acts as the best wishing friend and purifies a devotee who constantly engages in hearing of him. In this way, a devotee naturally develops his dormant transcendental knowledge. As he hears more about Krishna from the Bhagavatam and from the devotees, he becomes fixed in the devotional service of the Lord. By development of devotional service, one becomes freed from the modes of passion and ignorance, and thus material lusts and avarice are diminished. When these impurities are wiped away, the candidate remains steady in his position of pure goodness, becomes enlivened by devotional service, and understands the science of God perfectly. Thus, Bhakti Yoga severs the hard knot of material affection and enables one to come at once to the stage of asamshayam samagram, understanding of the absolute truth, personality of Godhead. Therefore only by hearing from Krishna or from his devotee in Krishna consciousness can one understand the science of Krishna. Translation again. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, "Now hear, O son of Pritha, how by practicing yoga in full consciousness of me, with mind attached to me, you can know me in full, free from doubt." Amaganati mirandasya gananchana shalakaya chakshurun militam yena tasmai shri gurave namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupagadamayam Dadadi Svabadandikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yudapadakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Zagrachatam Zahagana Raguna Tanvitam Tam Sachivam Sadvaitam Savatutam Parichana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Badan Sahagana Lalita Shivishakan Vidamscha E Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagadvate Gopasha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namustute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vishabhana Sutta Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpatarupesya Gripa Sindhupya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhaktarinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, "Now hear, O son of Pritha, how by practicing yoga in full consciousness of me, with mind attached to me, you can know me in full, free there are some very important points. Knowing Krishna in full and knowing Krishna partially is not the same. Knowing Krishna partially can be achieved through Brahman realization, which is a first step on the yoga ladder, is a first step of self-realization, Brahman realization. When one realizes there is a substance, the Brahman, the all-pervading substance, which everything floats on it. It's touching the fabric of the universe and the universes. And if someone researching further, what is this Brahman? Where does it come from? What is the origin? Then one will find out that Krishna is the origin of that Brahman. Like we see sunshine. And The sunshine is everywhere, daylight. And we're trying to research where is this sunshine coming from. Eventually we'll find out. This sunshine is emanating from the sun planet. And the sun planet will be revealed when the clouds are parting and the sun can be seen. So it's the same when the clouds of the modes of nature, of rajas and tamas, of passion and ignorance are removed, even to some extent, we can see the bright sun of Krishna. And then that's a revelation. Yes, the sunshine is coming from that sun. I couldn't see that because the sky was clouded over. I didn't see any sun. But I know there is light in comparison to night time when it's completely pitch black dark. So where is this light coming from? The sun, the clouds parting and the sun is visible, and immediately we know, oh, this sunshine is coming from the sun. So similarly, when our ignorance is removed, even partially, then the bright knowledge of Krishna is shining everywhere and specifically in our heart. Krishna is revealing himself to his devotees. There's a very interesting conversation with Srila Prabhupada, where Srila Prabhupada is emphasizing to just inquire from the spiritual master. Because tatvidi brane padena pariprashnena sevaya upatekshanti te jnanam jnanina tattva darshina. So that famous verse where Krishna advising everyone to surrender unto my pure devotee, surrender unto the spiritual master. Inquire and serve him. Very important points. Inquiry and service. And the self-realized soul will impart knowledge unto you because he has seen the truth. So first of all, the spiritual master has seen the truth. That's important. He knows the truth. But inquiry alone is not sufficient. Submission, inquiry and service. So service is very important. So Srila Prabhupada in that conversation says, if someone is just inquiring again and again and again and asking, that person gets nowhere because the other element of service is missing. He may be even submissive inquiring, but unless there is seva, unless there is service to Krishna and the spiritual master, Krishna will not reveal anything. So that is the secret of Bhagavad Gita, that Krishna will reveal himself to whoever he chooses. And if there is devotional service there, then Krishna is very much inclined to that person who is offering that service. So generally the jnanis and mental speculators, they don't like to serve Krishna because they don't even recognizing Krishna. They're all what they can understand is Brahman. And if the clouds in the sky are very thick, they cannot even know what is behind that Brahman. And they think this Brahman is the highest, is everything. There's nothing beyond that Brahman. Like we looking around and we see the sky covered in clouds, but it is daylight and the daylight is pervading everything. So there our knowledge ends. We think that light, that is the ultimate. So, as soon as one advances a bit further, through seva, what service could that be? We're saying devotional service, engaging some service to the spiritual master in Krishna. That service starts with hearing submissively, not in a challenging way, of hearing. Hearing the message of Lord Krishna in Bhagavad Gita and hearing about Lord Krishna in Srimad Bhagavatam. That is also service. Hearing, Shravanam. Then, naturally, when one has heard submissively from the proper source, then, like filling a jug with water, and we're pouring water in, and water in, and water in. At one point, the jug is full, and we keep pouring water in, then it will overflow. The same is with that person who hears about Krishna in a submissive way, and hears, at one point that knowledge is overflowing, and he wants to give that knowledge to others. They also become fortunate. Such a person understands, I have become fortunate of hearing about Krishna. Now let me speak about Krishna, let me glorify Krishna. So Shravanam, then we have Kirtanam. And we hear, or we have heard properly, and we repeat and glorifying Krishna as the next thing, Vishnu Smaranam. We can remember Krishna. If we hear Shravanam and Kirtanam, then Smaranam will come automatically. So already 3 of the 9 processes of devotional service. Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam, Patasevanam, Archanam, Vandanam, Dasyam, Sakyam, Atmanivedanam. One can practice all 9 processes of devotional service. That's of course very nice. But if not 9, then 8. Srila Prabhupada says, if not 8, then 7, 6, 5, 4. But at least one limb of devotional service one must execute. Otherwise there is no revelation. And Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam will remain a closed book. And we only understand it in terms of academic mundane knowledge. But deeper entrance into the mysteries of Bhagavad Gita, that is locked up because there is no seva, there is no service. So therefore it is said the Brahman realization is on the lowest platform. It is Krishna, of course, because the impersonal Brahman is Krishna's personal effulgence. It's also Krishna, a part of Krishna. Therefore Srila Prabhupada says, if someone is Brahman realized, I mean not just theoretically, but really Brahman realized, then that is a partial realization of Krishna. Because it's only the energy is only a part of Krishna. It's not the whole person Krishna. It's one part. Brahman. Brahmachyoti. So if someone progresses further by practice of meditation or yoga, then one can understand the Paramatma in the heart of all living entities and even every single atom. There's a very nice description in Srimad Bhagavatam by Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur that when Brahma was bewildered and after stealing the cowherd boys and the calves, then suddenly that little boy he saw in front of him, suddenly he saw all the cows and the calves he had locked away. And by the way, it is also important to know, these boys and calves Lord Brahma put in a mystic slumber by his potency, by his illusory potency, and locked them up in a cave. These were not the original cowherd boys. So we may never have heard that, but that's what Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur explains. There has been an expansion, a manifestation of the cowherd boys by the Mahamaya energy of the Lord. So material forms of the cowherd boys, not the original spiritual forms. These were the ones Lord Brahma locked up. Because these spiritual forms, in their Svarup, which is fully spiritual, they cannot be touched by Lord Brahma. They cannot. They cannot be locked away. It's not possible. How you lock a spiritual form away? Spiritual form is a much, much higher level. So Lord Brahma locked a duplicate material form of the cowherd boys away. So when he came back and saw Lord Krishna with all the calves and the sakas playing as before, as when he saw it before, a moment before. A moment of Lord Brahma's time was 1 year in earthly time. Since the Agasura pastime, which preceded the Brahma Vimohan Lila, so a year has passed, because time is very relative. In the higher planetary system, time goes much slower. And therefore, when 1 moment passes of Lord Brahma's time, a year had passed on this earthly plane. Then suddenly all these calves and boys, they took on a bluish color with yellow garments. And before he could comprehend anything, Lord Brahma, he saw all Vishnu forms, all the cows, the calves, and the sakas had turned into 4-handed Vishnu forms, with helmets and bracelets and armlets and anklets and helmets on their head and garlands around their neck, garlands of forest flowers were described. Not garlands of parichata flowers, as in the heavenly kingdom. No, garlands of forest flowers. Because that is Krishna's forest, Vrindavan, where our Prakash has just returned from Vrindavan. So then, every living entity Lord Brahma could see, they were worshipping these Narayan forms of the Lord. Every living entity, from the insect and to the birds and the deer, and he saw every living entity worshipping these Narayan forms of the Lord. And that makes it clear to us that Krishna and his sakas and his cows are non-different. They're all on the spiritual level. So non-different. Krishna is always these cowherd boys. And of course Krishna is in a lesser degree always us, because we are part and parcel of Krishna. But these cowherd boys and the calves, they were not part and parcel, they were full manifestations of Krishna. And then Lord Brahma became very much bewildered, seeing all the Vishnus. Vishnu he knew. Seeing all the Vishnu forms. All the calves and boys had transformed themselves in Vishnu Murti, being praised by the whole creation. And then he understood his rather limited magic, which is nothing against Krishna's supreme Yoga Maya magic. And it is said, Shastra says, if someone of a lesser power tries to play tricks of someone with a higher power than the one with a lesser power, his power will be diminished in the face of Krishna's magic. Then Lord Brahma could understand that his master, Lord Narayan, is actually this little boy who, standing right in front of him, as when he left to take, after taking the calves and the boys away, Sri Krishna stood in his left hand holding some rice mixed with yogurt, peacock feather on his head. Garland of forest flowers and leaves around his neck. Necklaces of gunchamala, necklaces of guncha berries, which is found in Vrindavan around Govardhan Hill at a certain time of the year. Guncha berries. They are little round, like beans, but small, much smaller than beans. Very shiny, very hard, with a color of black and dark, bright red, and some white as well. So the cowherd boys, they made these garlands out of the guncha berries, and that was a wonderful and beloved display of Krishna. Amrita Radhe Mataji, Hare Krishna, welcome. So in fact Krishna liked this guncha garland more than the necklaces his mother put on him before leaving for the forest. She put very costly golden necklaces on Krishna and lots of wonderful jewelry and ornaments. But as soon as Krishna with Balaram and the Sakhas were in the forest, Krishna took off all this fancy jewelry his mother had put on him, and the cowherd boys decorated him with garlands of guncha berries, with forest flower garlands with leaves. That's also mentioned. With leaves. So leaves and forest flowers. Beautiful garlands. So that is what Krishna really likes. Of course he's wearing the ornaments of his mother out of respect and appreciation for his mother, but forest flower garland, vana mala. Vana is forest, mala is garland. So these vana malas, he loved them because Vrinda, Van is forest. So Vrindavan is a forest. And the livelihood of the cowherd community, it came from the forest. And the cows, of course. So then Krishna stood there, just like before when he searched for the calves and cows Lord Brahma had stolen, with yogurt rice mixed with yogurt in his left hand, a cowherd stick in his right hand, beautifully decorated with forest flower garlands and guncha berries, as if everything was quite normal. Then Lord Brahma became very bewildered. And it is explained by Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur that Krishna didn't manifest further opulences because Lord Brahma was not able to understand them. So there are limits to understand Krishna's opulences. So Then Lord Brahma understood that this human-like form, this young boy, that is actually my master. He has put his magic into action and shaming my magic of locking up the cowherd boys, which were replicas, material replicas of the original spiritual cowherd boys. These were creations by Maya. He could lock them away. The spiritual forms of the Sakas, Lord Brahma cannot touch. So then he fell to the ground from his swan carrier. He fell to the ground. That's also significant, because devas normally don't touch the ground. But in this case, Lord Brahma touched the ground. And with his helmet, he touched the lotus feet of Krishna. Again and again and again. Because Lord Brahma's rim of the helmet, it is explained, the rim of the helmet is touching Krishna's lotus feet. And he had to do it at least 4 times, because he has 4 heads and 4 helmets. So each, down so many times it's described, he put his head to the ground. And all that while tears are streaming from his eyes. So, that verse today, where Krishna explains, "O Arjuna, by practicing yoga in full consciousness of me," full consciousness of me means Krishna consciousness, not jnana or anything else. With mind attached to me, that's also significant. Our mind becomes attached to Krishna. Then Krishna says, you can know me in full, free from doubt. So the jnani, the karmi, or let's say the jnana yogi and the karma yogi, they have no access to understand Krishna in full. Because these other manifestations of the Brahman, all-pervading Brahman and the Paramatma, localized, these are partial manifestations of Krishna. But Bhagavan Krishna is a full picture, is a full manifestation. So this verse today, the first verse in the 7th chapter, knowledge of the Absolute, it makes a connection to the last verse of the previous chapter, the culmination of the yoga chapter, where Lord Krishna explains the one who is offering transcendental loving service unto him, he is the best of yogis. So not the karma yogi, the jnana yogi, no. The bhakta, the devotee, he is the best of all yogis. Then in his purport, Srila Prabhupada explains, different types of yoga are only stepping stones on the path of Krishna consciousness. So it's a misconception. If someone thinks all yogas are equal, there is karma yoga explained in Bhagavad Gita, there's jnana yoga, there's different yogas explained, Ashtanga yoga. These are all independent, different yogas. Bhakti yoga is another one. And one can practice any of them and reach the same goal. That is a misconception. According to Lord Krishna himself, in this last verse of the previous chapter, and in this verse, in Srila Prabhupada's purport, the different yogas are stepping stones. So what are stepping stones? Stepping stones we find sometimes when we want to cross a shallow water. There are stones laid out in front of us. We can step on them, on the next and the next and the next, without getting our shoes or feet wet. These are stepping stones, crossing from one side of the stream to the other side. So these other yogas are stepping stones. And as we have mentioned before, if karma yoga and jnana yoga are aimed at bhakti yoga, they can be useful. But if karma and jnana yogas are deprived of aiming at bhakti, they become material. And Srila Prabhupada explains the succession of the yoga ladder is karma yoga, jnana yoga, ashtanga yoga. So these are leading all to bhakti yoga. But one, and that's the beauty of Srila Prabhupada's inconceivable mercy, who has negotiated a special deal for us in this dark age of Kali Yuga, to have an easy process. By the mercy of Guru and Krishna, we can complete that yoga process in this very lifetime. It is not so easy to come to the highest realization of the absolute truth. Previously, in the yoga chapter, Lord Krishna explains that the yogi, after practice of many births, after many births of his yoga practice, he will reach the absolute truth. So the devotee, the bhakti yoga, the bhakta, it doesn't need too many births to realize Krishna. He can directly realize Krishna. There is an old example where a building, a skyscraper, at the time the Empire State Building in New York, it's not anymore the highest building, but it was at the time. One can take the staircase, over 100 of levels. One can take the staircase and reach the highest level, but after considerable time and exhaustion, one can reach the top level by walking the staircase. That is a yoga system. From karma to jnana yoga to ashtanga yoga. But if one takes directly to devotional service, bhakti yoga, then that is like taking the elevator. In no time and with no effort, one reaches the top floor of that tall building. That elevator is a mercy of Guru and Krishna. Brahmanda Brahmida Guna Bhagavan achieve Guru Krishna Prasadi by Bhakti Ladder Beach. So this Bhakti Ladder, this seed of devotional service, that will fructify. These days, I have some propagator with 3 different levels, which you put water in and it trickles down to the lower level and it trickles down to the lowest level, and you put some green whole mung beans in all 3 levels or 1 or 2 levels and add some water. Within just a few days they're starting to sprout, and they're sprouting so much they're pushing open the cover and becoming very strong little germinating plants. And of course that is very nice in the salad, and it's a good source of protein as well. So that is a good exercise on sprouting dal. And I have been explained the traditional way in India. You don't need this sprouter made of plastic and 3 tiers of plastic. People used to just take a towel, a wet towel, and put the dal in and bundle it up, and then after a couple of days the dal also sprouts. So that is a traditional method. So that Bhakti ladder beach is also sprouting. Same way as the dal is sprouting. The dal without the water wouldn't be sprouting, but adding the water on the moist environments and the dal sprouts. So in the same way, this Bhakti ladder beach is a seed of Bhakti. This sprouts by adding water. What is that water? Chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare. By that chanting process, that's a watering process. And so many things are happening by this chanting process, which firm faith, Shraddha, and good association, Sadhu Sangha, then that watering is starting of engagement in devotional service. And by that process, this little germling of devotion is growing and sprouting and growing to a plant and growing into a strong plant and climbing. It's a creeper. A creeper means it's climbing. All up to the covering of the universe, piercing through the covering universe and take shelter at Lord Krishna's lotus feet. And that's a success of our devotional service. So Srila Prabhupada, who is the right-hand man of Krishna, so intimate with Krishna, he knows everything and every thought about Krishna. Every thought Krishna has. And he knows equally every intention and thought Srimati Radharani has. So that's Srila Prabhupada's supreme position. He's so close. Krishna has no secrets, nor does Srimati Radharani. So equally, both Radha and Krishna, a very intimate relationship. And by arrangement with Krishna, he has promised us, if you engage in this devotional service with faith, take shelter of Guru, and practice Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam, and so on, then within this lifetime you will be able to go back home to Godhead, not taking another birth, conquering birth and death. Not like the yogi who has to, after many births, his endeavor is crowned with success. No. The devotee's endeavor is crowned with success in this very lifetime. No more birth. Last birth. So we should have perfect faith in Srila Prabhupada's words and negotiations with Krishna, that it is achievable to come to the highest platform of Krishna consciousness in this very lifetime and not taking another birth again. Then Srila Prabhupada in his purport, he carries on. After the stepping stones, one who takes directly to Krishna consciousness automatically knows about Brahma, Jyoti and Paramatma in full. Naturally. I always give the example of the Russian dolls. This is some brightly colored dolls. If you open the doll, there is a smaller doll inside, exactly a replica. And you open that one, it opens in the middle, and there is a smaller one even. So naturally, if the biggest Russian doll contains all smaller ones. So similarly, someone who takes to Krishna consciousness directly, he knows what is Brahman and he knows what is Paramatma in full. That's also important. Not only partially. No. Srila Prabhupada says such a person knows Paramatma and about Brahmajyoti in full. By practice of Krishna consciousness yoga, and we should understand, Krishna consciousness is a Krishna consciousness yoga. One can know everything in full, namely the absolute truth, the living entities, material nature, and their manifestations with paraphernalia. And then the link to the 6th chapter, the last verse in the 6th chapter, Srila Prabhupada explains, one should therefore begin yoga practice as directed in the last verse of the 6th chapter. Concentration of the mind upon Krishna, the Supreme, is made possible by a described devotional service in the 9 different forms. Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam, Patasevanam, Archanam, Vandanam, Dasyam, Sakyam, Atmanivedanam. So Shravanam is the first. And Srila Prabhupada explains it is the most important. Hearing. Because without proper hearing we cannot chant. What to speak of remembering Vishnu Smaranam. Therefore, Krishna says to Arjuna, touch Shrinu. Hear from me. So one has therefore to learn from Krishna directly or from a pure devotee of Krishna, and not from upstarts, non-devotee upstarts, puffed up with academic knowledge. So that is contempt. And then Srila Prabhupada quotes the famous verses from the 1st canto, 2nd chapter. Shrinvatam Svakata Krishna, Punya Shravana Kirtanam, and so on. All these verses up till Vidyate Ritaya Grantish. And then a translation is given to hear about Krishna from Vedic literatures, or to hear from him directly through Bhagavad Gita, is itself righteous activity. And for one who hears about Krishna, Lord Krishna, who is dwelling in everyone's heart, acts as a best wishing friend and purifies a devotee who constantly engaging in hearing of him. That's a secret. Hearing of Krishna is not just hearing of any other topic in this material world. Hearing about any other topic in this material world will not purify us. In fact, it will pollute our consciousness. Because naturally, hearing about topics devoid of Krishna are just topics about material enjoyment and therefore entanglement. So they will entangle us. Any topics not connected with Krishna will entangle us in the eternal cycle of action and reaction, karmic cycle, and therefore the cycle of birth and death in this material world, as we have experienced since millions of lifetimes. So by hearing about Krishna, a devotee naturally develops his dormant transcendental knowledge. So the knowledge is already there, but it is sleeping, it is dormant. Therefore we say, we are part and parcels of Krishna in quality one, Satchit Ananda. Satchit, eternal, full of knowledge, full of eternal knowledge. So the knowledge is already there. Within us, all knowledge about Krishna. But it is dormant, transcendental knowledge. So by this hearing process, that knowledge is awakened. And if one hears sufficiently, one becomes fixed in devotional service. And then one surpasses the modes of passion and ignorance. And therefore, material lust and avarice are diminished. And then Srila Prabhupada carries on, when these impurities are wiped away, the candidate remains steady in his position of pure goodness. Pure goodness, Shuddha Sattva. Steadiness is a platform of Nishtha. Nishtha means steadiness, very important platform. And one becomes enlivened by devotional service and understands the science of God perfectly. And then Srila Prabhupada explains, thus Bhakti Yoga severs the hard knot of material affection and enables one to come at once to the stage of Ashamshayam Samakram. The hard knot, Hridaya, Kranti. Of course, that's the hard knot. Ritu and Prabhu, Hare Krishna, welcome. And Srila Prabhupada concludes, therefore, only by hearing from Krishna or from his devotee in Krishna consciousness can one understand the science of Krishna. Okay, that's a beautiful verse, connecting perfectly to the previous yoga chapter. So now we ask, anyone has any questions or comments? Amrita Rati. Mataji, what about you?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, thank you for the session. My question is regarding you saying that we can make it to the spiritual world in this lifetime. One question that somehow today I came across several quotes about Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada, Bhakti Vinod Thakur, and even Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu saying that a person should chant at least 1 lakh names of 1 lakh names. That means 64 rounds. Um and what the it was a blog written by a devotee, so the message was that you need to chant at least this much to attain your sthai bhav and realize yourself and your relationship with Krishna. So what I mean, my question basically is that, of course, even in my situations I chant 16 rounds, and most of the time I try to hear Andhra Prabhu's kirtans. Sometimes I sing along, sometimes I don't, but the Harinam is going within me, and I also am hearing sometimes attentively. So I don't know if I'm making it to 1 lakh Naam or not, but so your opinion on that, Prabhu, basically, and your suggestions.
Hare Krishna. Not my opinion. I don't have any opinion. Srila Prabhupada's opinion. I'm just repeating. I have no opinion on my own. But I have realization, yes, of course. That is Srila Prabhupada's special negotiation also. And you may know the story. When Srila Prabhupada was sitting on the Vyasasana at the end of the class, and he looked at all his disciples, and he said, if you don't chant 64 rounds, it's impossible to go back home to Godhead. Because in the Gaudiya Mat, they chant 64 rounds. Not a lakh like Haridas Thakur, but 64 rounds. That means 8 hours a day, maybe 7, 6 minimum. So then all the devotees looked disheartened. They hardly could chant 16 rounds, 8 rounds. It was so difficult for any newcomer to Krishna consciousness. Chanting Hare Krishna is very difficult. As it is said, at the beginning it's like poison, and at the end it's like pure nectar. At the beginning we have to push so much by the rules of even following these simple 4 principles of abstaining from meat, fish and eggs, and intoxication, and no gambling, and no illicit sexual relationships. That seems to be so hard because we're coming from very much polluted backgrounds, most of us, not all. Pious families, that's a different background. That's more advantageous. So, to just follow these principles, devotees had to push so much. And due to the love for Srila Prabhupada, mainly, and their conviction that, by Srila Prabhupada's conviction, they had also the conviction that Krishna consciousness is something really special and good, worthwhile to pursue. And the chanting was for them also very difficult, because to even sit still for any Westerners in the mode of Rajagun and passion, to sit still even for 5 minutes is difficult. There's a story where Srila Prabhupada gave a lecture, and there were all the sannyasis around him and the devotees, full temple room. And while Lokanath Maharaj was sitting down there, he moved his leg up and down, a kind of a nervous. We do that sometimes. I used to do that very much when I was in school days. Just a nervous kind of vibration. And Srila Prabhupada said, "Stop that." No, stop that. That was all. And we hear during the japa tape as well, sit properly, not slumping down. And so these are just normal things. So, but it's so hard at the beginning to push these things, to even sit there, not moving one's knee and legs up and down in quick succession out of restlessness. It's so hard. So the devotees felt chanting 64 rounds, that's impossible, I will never make it back home to Godhead. And Srila Prabhupada could read that resignation on the faces of the devotees. He closed his eyes, and after some time he said, "Okay, 32 rounds." Obviously, he negotiated with Krishna. 32 rounds minimum, otherwise you can't go back home to Godhead. And still the devotees felt, I can't do that. 32 rounds. 4 hours sitting, or maybe walking, but just chanting, nothing else. So much passion is there. We want to do things, we want to build things, we want to make things, and so many ways. Passion, like all our Western society is so much in the mode of passion. So building things and they're destroying things again. There's a war destroying everything, and after the war they're building everything and new inventions and all of that. That's a society in the mode of passion. And Srila Prabhupada, again, he could observe the resignation on the faces of the devotees. And then he got up from his Vyasasan, because that was the end of the class. And he walked out, put his chadar over his shoulder, as we have seen in videos. Just chadar over the shoulder, walked out, turned to the devotees and said, "Not less than 16 rounds to go back home to Godhead." Said it came to 16 rounds. From 64. From 64 to 16, down. negotiated with Krishna. So we have strong faith in the words of Srila Prabhupada, that 16 rounds and 4 regulative principles will be able to go back home to Godhead in this very lifetime. Anybody else tells us anything else, that's a different story. We know, if we catching the mercy of Srila Prabhupada, it's 16 minimum. Of course we can chant always more. And in the higher stages of devotional service we will chant all the time, non-stop, automatically, because there is some attachment for Krishna, also forerunner of love for Krishna. Even in the stage of asakti, so there's some attachment is developing for Krishna, and we like to chant his name continuously, and then it's without effort. It comes automatically. We just chant. It's just second nature. Even sometimes we don't even realize, I'm chanting. Oh yes. Why all the people greeting me when they walk by? Once they're greeting me, they're smiling, they're greeting me. Why is everybody so friendly? And they're good morning, good morning. Oh, because my lips are moving. I'm chanting Hare Krishna and they think I'm saying good morning, etc. Just respond to that. That's my conclusion. So I gave that example. It's actually a quite good example. At the beginning, if the car doesn't run and we need to get it, sometimes we push a car to, the battery may be weak and we're pushing the car. And then the one who's sitting in the car or who's also pushing and then quickly jumping in, gear in and clutch out and ignition on and boop, 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 boop. And the car starts. So that's one thing of pushing. That's the beginning of our Krishna consciousness. We're pushing very hard to get this car started. Later on, we're hooking up with Krishna and Guru. That means a car in front, hooked up with a rope, and it pulls that car. That's very easy, no pushing required. If a car pulls the car who has stalled, whose battery is low, then without any effort, in just a couple of minutes, the engine is running. If we know what to do when we sit in the driver's seat, we'll have to put a gear in, and we have to put the clutch out slowly. Now that's a good example for starting off with so much endeavor on our own, and then later on in the higher stages of devotional service, it's just we are being pulled. Then some healthy lopa, greed, has developed. And if we are greedy for something, we don't need to make an endeavor. It's said greed alone is just accomplishing everything. If someone is greedy for something, he will get it. If someone is greedy for 5 ice creams, he will get it. That greed is strong enough. He will find a way of getting 5 ice creams instead of 1, for instance. So that greed, spiritual greed, not material greed, if that has developed, even to some extent only, not maybe yet full extent, but to some extent, that will pull us without our own effort. We don't have to, I have to follow these principles, I have to chant my rounds, and that will all automatically be achieved. It's just part of our life. We can't imagine not living a life of a devotee. It just has been so completely internalized. That's our real life by that development of bhakti. That's our real life. And we're convinced, 100%, this is our real life. And any remnants of material attachment and material life is just what it is. Some remnants which will be washed away in a very short period of time by said creed. And what is said creed? What said creed is manifesting a wanting to hear about Krishna, wanting to hear Srimad Bhagavatam, wanting to hear actually the pastimes of the Lord. That is a manifestation of said creed. Pastimes. And so many times we read pastimes of Krishna. We should hear Krishna's pastimes because they will propel us forward. We will grow a very healthy attachment. Who wouldn't love these pastimes? These beautiful descriptions of the 10th canto. There's so many. The summum bonum. Or the beautiful descriptions of Lord Brahma's prayers. Of Lord Brahma stealing the cowherd boys. His beautiful description of Brihad Bhagavatamrita. Oh, there's so much more. So much more. So, is that answering your question?
Yes, Prabhuji. So basically, on the basis of Srila Prabhupada's mercy, if we continue to chant 16 rounds, then we will eventually develop some greed to hear about Krishna, and then that greed will take us ahead. Is that a correct understanding?
Yes, we have to. Krishna's, Srila Prabhupada's mercy is there for everyone. It's like the rain or sunshine. It's there for everyone. But we have to be able to catch the rain, or we have to go out of the house to be in the sunshine. So the mercy is there. It's not Srila Prabhupada gives his mercy only to some and not to others. No, the mercy is available freely of the pure devotee. And Krishna's mercy is the same. But if we put ourselves in the right position and we be able to catch that mercy, we'll catch that mercy of Srila Prabhupada's lotus feet. And it's not that difficult if we develop some attachment for Srila Prabhupada. That we must. If we don't have any attachment of hearing from Srila Prabhupada, then it's almost impossible. So surrendering process starts with Srila Prabhupada. And our own Guru, of course, which is just an extension of Srila Prabhupada. Also, devotees are extension of Srila Prabhupada. The devotees giving out his mercy to the innocent people. That's Srila Prabhupada's extensions, because they're following Srila Prabhupada. They have taken Srila Prabhupada as their heart and soul. And what Srila Prabhupada is asking in all of his writings and translations and purports, they have completely internalized that. And that has become their life and soul. So we must have some attachment for Srila Prabhupada, and then we'll be able to capture his mercy. And we capture his mercy by hearing and by preaching. Very important. Today I was hearing, a class just came across it by accident or arrangement, said Archana is very important, deity worship. Archana is very important, particularly for devotees on the Kanishta platform, because we're fixing our devotional service in the Archana process. But then Srila Prabhupada said something interesting, and I may post this class. But staying only on that Archana platform, packed up on that Archana platform, we won't reach even the spiritual platform. That's what Srila Prabhupada said. We won't reach the spiritual platform. Because we have to see who is a devotee, we have to recognize devotees above our Kanishta. Bhakta or Prakrita, Bhakta he cannot recognize as a devotee, or properly honor as a devotee, or respect as a devotee. No, the The one who has been initiated and he thinks, now I'm okay, I can do deity worship. If he doesn't progress any further, then Srila Prabhupada said, then that's not the spirit, it will not reach the spiritual platform. So we have to have that element of wanting to give Krishna's mercy to us. So we have to preach. Very important. That element is there. And there's another interesting conversation, confidential conversation with one devotee. We have told that story before. Where the devotees that did university programs and they were sitting with Srila Prabhupada and they said, Srila Prabhupada, it's lots of students coming. Srila Prabhupada was very pleased. Lots of students coming, wanted to hear. But these programs going very late into the night. And we cannot get up in the morning 4:30 and doing our Mangalarti. And so what to do? And Srila Prabhupada said, that's okay. You preaching this Krishna consciousness, that will compensate for not rising early to do Mangalarti and the morning program. And then Srila Prabhupada revealed something very interesting, that this movement runs on 2 tracks. Pancharatrika Vitti, which is deity worship, and Bhagavata Vitti, which is preaching Krishna consciousness. Both tracks are generally, and I have emphasized in all my books, both tracks are important. But, and I tell that to you only, to this devotee who inquired, we can do without the Pancharatrika Vitti, of just getting on with the Bhagavata Vitti. But we cannot do just Pancharatrika Vitti without the Bhagavata Vitti. Well, that's interesting. So Pancharatrika Vitti without Bhagavata Vitti won't work, and devotees will become sentimental or ritualistic. But Bhagavata Vitti without the Pancharatrika Vitti is sufficient to become fully Krishna conscious. That's what Srila Prabhupada has said. But then he said something important. But do not preach like this. And I'm not preaching like this. I'm just sharing that with you. Do not preach like this. Because if you preach like this, Srila Prabhupada said we can only do Bhagavata Vitti, we don't need the Pancharatrika Vitti. No. Devotees who are very attached, even sentimentally attached to the deity worship, at the beginning will be sentimentally attached, naturally. Sentiment, and then we're rising above the sentiment, it becomes more the philosophy, we're getting learned, and it becomes more than sentiment, it becomes genuine spiritual attachment. So don't preach like this, because the devotees who are very attached, Kanishta devotees, to the Pancharatrika Vittis, they will think you are disrespecting the deities. It will cause controversy. I'm just saying this to you because you're a preacher, you're preaching Krishna consciousness, and I'm very pleased with your preaching. So I'm saying this to you, don't preach it widely to others. Okay. Anything else, Amrita Radhimataji?
One small question, Prabhu. So basically, what I see is that different devotees emphasize, it's all there in Srila Prabhupada's teachings, but different devotees emphasize different aspects of devotional service. So now, as a sadhaka, can we uh, decide to follow a person, suppose Srila Prabhupada's disciple, with whom our natural inclinations align and practice that particular aspect of devotional service in a very genuine way? Is that correct approach? To give an example, Prabhu. For example, Andhra Prabhu, he emphasized a lot on Sankirtan and holy names and how you should save yourself first and develop Vraja Bhakti Bhav, deep attachment to Krishna. And preaching will automatically happen. People will come attracted to you and they will get attracted to Krishna. So that was his mood, his approach. On the other hand, there are personalities like Jayapataka Swami Maharaj who say go out, reach, meet people, give books. So now we all have different temperaments, different ways of doing things. So can we pick one of the approaches? Both of these approaches we respect, but can we pick one approach and follow one personality?
So if I get this right, are you asking, shall we just be pure devotees and people will come to us automatically? Or shall we go out and find the people? Is that what you're asking?
Okay, yes, Prabhu. If you
Okay.
and because even Pakistan Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada said that only a proper Bhajananandi can be a genuine Goshtanandi. So
Well, we just need to take the example of Srila Prabhupada. He was that perfect, pure devotee. But he went preaching. He went preaching, even though he wasn't in the mood of a Babaji, of a Bhajananandi. He was in the mood of a Goshtyanandi. He went out of his very comfortable situation in Radha Damodar temple in Vrindavan. Who could have a better situation than being in Vrindavan at Radha Damodar temple and doing one's bhajan? Perfect situation. Srila Prabhupada left it. Okay, on behalf of the instruction of his spiritual master to preach Krishna consciousness in English-speaking language. Yes. When devotees in New York, I believe it was, they had made a beautiful quarter for Srila Prabhupada with chandeliers and beautiful paintings, like we have seen so many quarters of Srila Prabhupada, may it be in Krishna Balaram temple, his quarters, or in Delhi temple, and every temple, or Bhaktivedanta Manor, beautiful quarters maintained where Srila Prabhupada used to stay. So that was newly... Yes? Everyone? Oh. That was a new room. Devotees had made arrangements, decorated newly fresh. The paint was not even really completely dry. And then they asked Srila Prabhupada, do you like your quarters? With so much endeavor, they had done everything beautiful and opulently and everything. Big chandelier. Then Srila Prabhupada said something very interesting. Thank you very much for these beautiful quarters. But my heart is in Vrindavan. Just see, Srila Prabhupada's heart is Vrindavan in this humble quarters of Radha Damodar temple and elsewhere in Vrindavan, Parigram and so on. Govardhan Hill. This was his last wish. While about to leave his body, he had, take me on a bullock cart around Govardhan Hill. And then the devotee said, Srila Prabhupada, you will die. So if I die while on the parigram around Govardhan Hill, that will be glorious. So eventually the devotees didn't do it. They convinced him not to like that. So Srila Prabhupada's heart is in Vrindavan, yes. But out of duty to his spiritual masters, the preaching had to be done. So, unless we are fully pure devotees, we have to go out and preach. And if we are on that topmost level and then thousands and tens of thousands of people coming to us, then we'll have to accommodate that. But again, Srila Prabhupada's example, up till the end he was preaching. And he wants us to preach. Because giving Krishna consciousness to others rewards a special mercy Srila Prabhupada's mercy, Lord Chaitanya's mercy, and Krishna's mercy. Because Lord Chaitanya said, I'm the gardener. I have all these fruits of love of Godhead, but what can I do alone? I want you all to help me of distributing these fruits of love of Godhead. Does that answer your question?
Yes, Prabhu, but again, the thing is, I don't know if I'm dragging the conversation too ahead, but another thing is, like Anand Prabhu says that Prabhupada also, even Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada also, before they started their preaching mission, they spent years building their own, or apparently, building, of course, they are all self realized souls, but they did bhajan in Vrindavan, and even Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur did so in Sridham Mayapur. So you really need to develop deep attachment to the holy names, and then you will be empowered to preach. So this was his perspective, but I understand your perspective also, about trying to please Srila Prabhupada by going out, reaching out to people, and connecting them to Srila Prabhupada. That also I understand. So I think I'll have to walk the middle line,
Yes,
probably.
we have a mission. We have a mission. We have inherited a mission from Srila Prabhupada. So preaching may come in many ways. It may not. Only going out on book distribution is only one way of preaching. Talking to other people, holding programs is another way. Distributing prasadam is another way. Speaking with people about Krishna is another way. So there are many, many, many ways. But that is the mission. Srila Prabhupada got his mission from his spiritual master, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta, to preach in Western, in English language around the world. We have inherited that mission to also preach. Ridwan Prabhu.
Yes, Prabhuji. Prabhu, I completely agree with what you have said regarding different modes of preaching, different aspects or limbs of preaching. But throughout the years, I've come across many devotees, and they have emphasized upon, just as you mentioned, we have a mission, and Prabhupada becomes very pleased when preaching is going on, and that also pleases Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And they emphasize mostly on giving lectures, going out, book distribution. So these are the aspects of the preaching which are more focused. That's definitely good for those who are able to do so. But some people like me, myself, I don't, my nature is not like that I can go out and preach, not because that people will reject me, not like that, but I can't open up even in my college years, or even in my work. I remain very secluded from people. I don't go out with my colleagues, and even at work, I just when I'm doing my administrative work, I sit in a secluded place away from my colleagues, so that it's not my nature. So as you mentioned that preaching has got different aspects. So might be people are not, according to their nature, they are not like that, not extrovert, they are more introvert, but they might be good at something else. And as bhakti has got different limbs, and as Prahlad Maharaj says, of the ninefold devotional services, even if somebody does one, they can reach perfection. So does preaching only mean just like going out and book distribution, or going out and asking people to giving lectures? Basically, the other thing, what I heard from one of the devotees, very senior devotee, so he was saying that, Amarendra Prabhu, he was saying that unless and until we realize what we are preaching, it's not going to make it's not going to produce a deep mark on the person who is listening.
Absolutely.
So we preach first to ourselves, and then definitely we preach others. So that's what my dilemma is. What exactly does preaching mean? Is it only lecture?
It means speaking what you have realized. That's important. Not just repeating words like a parrot. That has also its place and has also some effect. But speaking to others what we have actually internally realized, that is the most potent form of preaching. Going back to Indra, Amrita Radha brought that up. It looked like on the outside Indra was just living the life of a Babaji. And if you read some more intimate writings, then you find a lot of emphasis on Raganuga Bhakti and all of that. Yes, that's all true. But Indra's preaching with the Vrindavan Kirtan, it spread all over the world. Who hasn't heard of Indra? Who hasn't heard of his chanting? Who hasn't... what you speak, mostly we hear of his chanting, but when Indra Prabhu has given a class, it's so deep. And his books also. It's very, very deep, profound realizations. But back to you, Rituan Prabhu. You wouldn't believe. I guess you wouldn't believe. But I know. In my younger years, I was very shy. Like you. I was very shy. I never put myself in the limelight or put forward. I was always in the background. I had not the confidence of speaking to people. But there has been a complete transformation due to Krishna consciousness. I could speak for 10,000 of people without any problem. No problem. So what has happened? So realizing to whatever extent I'm able to realize this Krishna consciousness and Srila Prabhupada's writings has given me tremendous confidence. I'm just repeating what I've heard. Of course, in between, which also helped from a material perspective, I was teaching German language to adults. So that gave me, I felt not very confident at the beginning, but over some years I developed some confidence as well. But just see, from a very shy and introvert person, me, in my younger years, that seems to all have transformed. So much so when I came to France and they asked me, can you give the Bhagavatam class? What do you want to speak about? And I said, well, anything. I just carry on what you're studying in the Srimad Bhagavatam in the morning. And at the beginning of my first class I said, if Krishna wants to give me the right words, I can speak for hours. If not, if that is blocked by some pride or something like that, then I'm being just dumb as a tree. And I remember my very, very first class, it was also in France, but in New Mayapur, when Indra Swami, he put me on the spot, he said, okay, tomorrow you give the Bhagavatam class. Woo! Never given a Bhagavatam class. I could do Kirtan. I was very confident with Kirtan, but Bhagavatam class? And I was afraid if I was sitting there and my mind is blank, I have nothing to say. But that didn't happen. First of all, I tried to make a long Kirtan because I was confident in Kirtan. But I was put on the spot. I had to do it. There was no way out. And then after extended Kirtans and Indra Swami said, okay, that's enough now. So I had to rise to the occasion, give him my very, very first class ever. And the words came somehow or other. And I went through it from beginning to end without a blank mind. And many, many years later, one of the devotees, Brahma disciple, older devotee, he said, I remember your class in New Mayapur. It was really, really nice. I said, oh, really, was it? So, you may feel, Rituan Prabhu, you are introverted, but as you are still young, as Krishna consciousness progresses, I can guarantee you, if you take Srila Prabhupada, Prabhupada's mission as your life and soul, your whole personality will change. Actually, it will change. But in the meantime, you do what you feel comfortable with. There's no point of pushing something no, these things come in naturally. But the desire has to be there. The desire. Does that address your question?
Yes, Prabhuji, thank you.
There are many other ways, of course, one can do in the meantime. And preaching doesn't just mean book distribution. No, it doesn't. Preaching can mean, in certain settings, just setting a very good example of a devotee. A good example, a good, moral, ethical person, sticking to one's principles, not like so many Hindus. Of course, that would never happen to you. But there's so many Hindus they're coming from good families and vegetarian, and they're coming to the Western countries and they compromise. Because they're sitting with other business people. And they think if they don't join in with the meat eating and drinking alcohol, then they cannot connect with these people. But that's wrong. That's not true. In my example also, when I was teaching, as I said, we had always a break, evening break after an hour of teaching, and then there was a little cafeteria and like that, and we had also some Christmas party, and they brought me some bottle of wine, and we share, and I said, no, I don't drink alcohol. Oh, you're a teetotal, huh? Yes. And then they made some preparations at home to share, and then I'm vegetarian. Actually, they respected that. They respected that. This man has some principles. He's vegetarian and he doesn't drink any alcohol. Wow. So these people who come from India and compromising after a short time and eating chicken, and then that's not very strong character. So even just showing one's character as a devotee and following certain principles strictly, people will respect that. And people will have a high esteem. Everybody has a high esteem to someone who has some really good principles. They may not understand it. It can be explained, of course. But because most people, they don't have any principles. They may think they have some principles, and by the first little opposition, everything crumbles. They have no mental strength. So preaching can be just by being ourselves as devotees, ethical, moral people with principles, and can explain these principles. If asked, people will ask, why you don't eat meat? Why you don't eat eggs? We must have the answer at least for this. And already we start preaching. Right? People will ask, why are you doing like that? Why don't you drink? We have to explain. Not in a kind of cop-out way, but really, we can explain why we don't eat meat and why we don't drink alcohol. Okay, anything else?
No, Prabhuji, thank you. Thank you for your explanation.
Amrita Radhamadaji, anything else?
It is hard to believe, Prabhu, that you were an introvert. But thank
It's
you for
hard to
sharing.
believe. I cannot believe it myself. I cannot believe it myself, but it's a totally transformation. That is Krishna consciousness. It's transforming us in every way. In every way. Seemingly material, but it's not material.
True,
Okay.
Prabhu.
Hare
Thank you.
Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Here we stop. Thank you very much. See you hopefully on Saturday. Hare Krishna. Vanchakalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya eva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Amrita Radhamadaji, Rituan, I sent you a link which I received today from Narada. He did a podcast with Damodar Maharaj and Govinda Maharaj, and I listened a little bit in the middle, and it's absolutely beautiful. I wrote him immediately back, you seem to just talk from my heart. There is not many people who have this level of realization. Beautiful talk. I will listen to the whole talk and I'll send you a link. Listen to it. It's really, really beautiful. How Srila Prabhupada is seen by Maharaj and the position of Srila Prabhupada and all of that. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Yes, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.